They say the cameras stopped rolling, but some props never left the set. For decades, Hollywood insiders have whispered about relics from the Golden Age, objects said to bring ruin, obsession, and eerie coincidence to anyone who dared claim them. Are these just superstitions, or is there a hidden cost to fame lurking in the shadows of old soundstages? Tonight, we dig into the strange and unsettling fates of iconic props, because sometimes what happens behind the scenes is far stranger than fiction. The ruby slippers. There's a reason the ruby slippers are more than just a piece of Hollywood memorabilia. They're a relic at the crossroads of magic and misfortune. When MGM crafted those now iconic slippers for Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz, nobody could have guessed the cloud that would gather around them. Out of the original pairs created, several vanished from the MGM vaults under suspicious circumstances, spawning rumors of theft, betrayal, and even inside jobs. For decades, prop historians have obsessed over their whereabouts, with one pair infamously stolen from the Judy Garland Museum in Minnesota and missing for more than a decade. But it wasn't just the fate of the slippers themselves that set Hollywood whispering. The cast and crew of The Wizard of Oz endured a string of accidents and mysterious ailments during production, burns, broken bones, and even near-fatal mishaps. While skeptics chalk it up to chaotic studio conditions, others believed the ruby slippers themselves carried a lingering curse. Judy Garland's own life took a tragic turn after Oz. She faced addiction, betrayal, and heartbreak in a relentless cycle that ended in her early death. The slippers, wherever they turned up, seemed to bring more trouble than luck. Collectors who acquired them faced lawsuits, robberies, and endless disputes. It's almost as if the magic that transported Dorothy home left something darker behind, turning those glittering shoes into an object that nobody could keep for long without paying a price. Decades later, the ruby slippers still haunt the Hollywood imagination, a symbol of dreams coming true and the nightmares that sometimes follow. The Wicked Witch's broomstick. It looked like just a movie prop, a battered, harmless broomstick carried by Margaret Hamilton's Wicked Witch of the West. But for anyone who worked on The Wizard of Oz, that broom carried the memory of fire and pain. During the filming of her dramatic exit from Munchkinland, Hamilton was engulfed in a sudden burst of flames as her broom's pyrotechnic rig misfired. She suffered third-degree burns on her hands and face, and the injuries were so severe that she was hospitalized for weeks. Hamilton would later joke about being too mean to die, but the cast whispered about the set being cursed, and her broomstick was at the center of it all. What made it more than a freak accident was the pattern of misfortune that seemed to follow that simple prop. After Hamilton's injury, her stand-in, Betty Danko, was asked to perform another pyrotechnic broom stunt, only to be hospitalized herself when the broom exploded beneath her. Danko narrowly survived, but the set was never the same. Crew members began refusing to handle the broom without a blessing, and rumors spread that the prop was haunted by something far darker than simple bad luck. Even after filming wrapped, the broomstick reportedly vanished from the MGM prop department, lost to decades of studio reshuffles, and perhaps, some said, hidden to keep its bad luck from spreading further. To this day, Hollywood historians debate whether The Wizard of Oz was plagued by coincidence or something more supernatural. But for those who saw the burns and heard the screams, the Wicked Witch's broom was more than a prop. It was a warning that in Hollywood, even make-believe can bite back. The idol from The Maltese Falcon. In The Maltese Falcon, the Blackbird was the ultimate prize, an object so coveted that men would kill for it. Off-screen, the prop itself became the stuff of legend, entangled in real-life mystery and misfortune that echoed the film's noir sensibility. The statuette, crafted of lead and weighing a hefty 45 pounds, was rumored to bring bad luck to anyone who tried to claim it. The first sign that something was amiss came after filming, when the original Maltese Falcon disappeared from the Warner Brothers lot. It was later recovered, but a string of lawsuits followed, as prop men and collectors each claimed they had the real Falcon. Michael Romanoff, a Hollywood restaurateur and notorious con-man, briefly acquired one version, only to lose it in a disastrous gambling binge that left him broke and desperate. Even Humphrey Bogart, who played Detective Sam Spade, wasn't spared. He reportedly insisted the prop was jinxed, joking darkly that whoever possessed the Falcon would wind up with a bullet or broke. The pattern seemed to hold. After the film's release, several of the studio employees linked to the prop found themselves out of work, suffering accidents or legal woes. Decades later, the Falcon resurfaced at auction houses, setting off new legal battles and thefts. The prop was stolen again in 2013, and though eventually returned, stories swirled that its owners experienced unexplained illnesses and financial ruin. Whether just a lump of lead or something darker, the Maltese Falcon left a trail of chaos that seemed straight out of a Hollywood script, a cursed treasure in every sense, blurring the line between cinema and reality. The lion costume. Most audiences remember Burt Lahr's Cowardly Lion for his comic brilliance and nervous charm, but few realize the toll his iconic costume took on both his health and the superstitious cast around him. The legendary lion suit was crafted from actual lion pelts, making it unbearably heavy and stifling under the blistering studio lights. Lahr reportedly sweated so profusely inside the costume that the wardrobe team had to dry it overnight, while the smell lingered on set and left the actor perpetually exhausted. But it wasn't just discomfort that made this prop infamous. The lion suit soon developed a reputation as a harbinger of bad luck. Throughout the shoot, crew members complained of headaches and malaise after spending too much time near the costume. Rumors grew that the suit, stitched from real animal skins, brought with it a kind of ancient curse, one that turned minor annoyances into full-blown emergencies. Several times, the costume's tail caught fire from the hot stage lights, nearly injuring Lahr and his co-stars. Makeup artists who handled the suit spoke of strange rashes and skin reactions, and at least one costume assistant quit mid-production, convinced the pelt was jinxed. Burt Lahr himself became a believer after fainting on set, an incident that, while likely caused by heat exhaustion, set off even more anxious whispers among the cast. He later joked that he'd never wear anything that once had claws again. As the film wrapped, the original lion suit disappeared into MGM's cavernous costume vault, only to be lost for decades before resurfacing at auction. Even in retirement, the costume's legend persisted. Some collectors who briefly owned it reported sudden bouts of illness and persistent nightmares, cementing the lion suit as one of Hollywood's most secretly feared relics. The dress from Gone with the Wind. When Vivien Leigh swept across the screen in Gone with the Wind, audiences were mesmerized by the green velvet curtain dress, a costume as grand as the southern plantations it represented. But behind its glamour lies a history of mishaps and superstitions, whispered about by costumers and cast alike. Designed by Walter Plunkett, the dress was famously fashioned from real, heavy velvet, making it both spectacular and dangerous. During filming, the weight of the gown proved treacherous. Leigh nearly tumbled down a staircase when her heel was caught in the train, and another time, she fainted under the sweltering lights and fabric. The dress soon became the subject of gossip. Seamstresses claimed it was impossible to repair. Stitches would unravel overnight, and beads would mysteriously go missing. One wardrobe worker swore the dress didn't want to be worn, after suffering a hand injury while adjusting its bodice. A stand-in for Leigh tripped on the hem and suffered a broken ankle, while rumors spread that anyone tasked with transporting or fitting the dress would fall ill. Even Plunkett himself reportedly grew wary, joking, "That dress will be the death of me yet." Once filming wrapped, the gown was stored away, but never truly forgotten. Each time it was displayed for studio events, minor disasters followed, lighting mishaps, sudden illnesses among staff, and, on one occasion, a fire that narrowly missed the studio's costume vault. Some believed the fabric's troubled past had woven a genuine curse into its folds, and the legend only grew as the years went by. Today, the green velvet dress is considered a priceless artifact, but among old Hollywood hands, it remains a symbol of the price one sometimes pays for movie magic. The Mirror from the Picture of Dorian Gray. Oscar Wilde's chilling tale of vanity and decay took on an eerie life of its own during the making of The Picture of Dorian Gray. Central to the film was a lavish, antique mirror, used in several key scenes as Dorian confronts his reflection, and ultimately, his damnation. The mirror, a genuine Victorian artifact, was said to carry more than just an old-world charm. Crew members became uneasy after a series of bizarre accidents. An electrician suffered a shock while rewiring lights around it, and the set decorator who transported the mirror reportedly developed a mysterious fever that lingered for weeks. Hurd Hatfield, who played Dorian, often joked about catching a curse from the prop. On multiple occasions, extras swore they saw strange shapes flickering in the mirror's glass, ghostly figures or faces not belonging to anyone on set. When a heavy lighting rig toppled over during filming, narrowly missing Hatfield and shattering just inches from the mirror, the legend grew. No one wanted to move the mirror without performing a quick blessing or knocking on wood. As filming concluded, the mirror was returned to the studio prop warehouse, but the unease lingered. Rumors persisted that the prop was at the center of several later mishaps, including a minor fire and a sudden spate of illnesses among warehouse staff. Eventually, the studio quietly sold the mirror at auction. Its whereabouts today are unknown. For the cast and crew who witnessed its dark reflections, the Dorian Gray mirror became a classic Hollywood ghost story, a symbol of beauty, ambition, and the shadows that sometimes come with them. The Mummys Sarcophagus. When Universal set out to terrify audiences with The Mummy, they didn't just borrow from Egyptian mythology. They imported a shadow of real-world dread onto the soundstage. The central prop, a life-sized sarcophagus built for Boris Karloff's Imhotep, became the focus of whispered warnings and uneasy glances. The cast and crew soon became convinced that the elaborate coffin and the collection of Egyptian-themed props that filled the set had brought an ancient curse with them. It began with accidents. A set builder suffered a crushed hand while moving the sarcophagus, followed days later by a camera operator who tripped over a lighting cable and broke his ankle. The superstitious began connecting dots. Before long, Karloff himself was complaining of a persistent chill that seemed to linger around the coffin. Makeup artist Jack Pierce, responsible for Karloff's legendary look, claimed the makeup room grew inexplicably cold every time the sarcophagus was nearby. The eerie atmosphere only deepened after a studio publicist, ever the opportunist, leaked rumors to the press about the curse of the pharaohs, extending its reach to Hollywood. Soon, the studio lot was abuzz with gossip about strange dreams, unexpected illnesses, and even visions of shadowy figures near the sarcophagus late at night. A nervous costumer swore she heard whispers coming from inside the coffin while alone on set. Universal, sensing both a publicity goldmine and genuine unease among the crew, finally brought in a local priest to bless the set and the props. The accidents tapered off, but the sarcophagus retained its ominous reputation long after production wrapped. Decades later, prop collectors who tried to acquire the original sarcophagus or its replicas reported mysterious breakdowns, failed deals, and a string of bad luck that persisted for years. For those who worked on The Mummy, the line between staged horror and something ancient and real felt perilously thin. The Portrait of Laura Hunt. The haunting portrait at the heart of Otto Preminger's Laura wasn't just a plot device. It became a real-life magnet for misfortune and intrigue. Painted specifically for the film, the larger-than-life likeness of Gene Tierney's character gazed down on every scene, imbuing the set with an eerie sense of presence. From the moment filming began, rumors swirled that the portrait was cursed. Assistants charged with hanging or moving the painting, reported sudden chills and a sense of dread, with one crew member fainting during a late-night setup. More troubling were the disappearances. The portrait went missing from the set not once but twice, only to reappear in different locations with no explanation. Each time, minor calamities followed. A broken light here, a small fire there, and even a stunt double's injury during a key scene. Some of the cast joked nervously about Laura's spirit staying behind in the prop, while others refused to be alone with the portrait after dark. Jean Tierney herself wasn't spared. She later reflected that the film, and particularly the portrait, marked a turning point in her life, as personal tragedies seemed to shadow her in the years that followed. Studio insiders whispered that the painting brought bad luck to whomever possessed it. After filming, the prop was reportedly lost in storage, later turning up in the private collection of a film executive whose career suffered a spectacular collapse. For Hollywood historians, the cursed portrait of Laura Hunt remains one of the great studio mysteries, a tangible reminder that some objects, whether by design or by legend, seem to carry a weight that goes far beyond paint and canvas. The Emerald Necklace. Greta Garbo once called it the necklace no one wanted to wear. For MGM's opulent production of Marie Antoinette, costume designers spared no expense, commissioning an elaborate emerald and diamond necklace rumored to contain real stones and a real curse. Whispers persisted that the necklace's design drew inspiration from a notorious French royal scandal, and that the gems themselves were sourced from a Parisian dealer with a dubious history. From the outset, the necklace proved troublesome. Norma Shearer, cast as the ill-fated queen, suffered a series of odd mishaps whenever she wore it. A fainting spell during rehearsals, an allergic reaction that left angry red marks on her neck, and a near-choking incident when the clasp mysteriously jammed during a take. Costumers who worked closely with the necklace reported headaches, nausea, and, in one instance, a freak accident involving a falling costume rack. As filming continued, rumors spread that the necklace was genuinely unlucky. Supporting actresses and extras began refusing to wear it, citing tales of personal misfortune and ominous dreams. One assistant claimed the necklace would move on its own during storage, and another swore that every photograph taken of the prop developed with a strange white blur. After the film wrapped, the necklace was quietly removed from MGM's collection. Studio lore claims it was sold off at auction, with its new owner soon facing bankruptcy and illness. Even today, some jewelry historians believe the prop was dismantled to prevent further calamity. The legend of Marie Antoinette's cursed necklace endures, a glittering reminder that sometimes history's shadows catch up with Hollywood's brightest lights. The crown its own twisted journey. Almost immediately, stories emerged of odd occurrences backstage. The first model to wear the crown suffered a sudden, unexplained fainting spell just before stepping onto the stage. The crown's velvet lining was found torn, even though no one remembered damaging it. After the premiere, the crown was stored at Disney's studio, but a series of mishaps followed. One costumer cut her hand deeply while handling the prop, and a security guard assigned to the costume vault suffered a string of bizarre accidents, including a fall from a ladder and a car crash, within weeks of his assignment. Over time, Disney animators began whispering that the crown was jinxed, linking it to a wave of layoffs and production setbacks that hit the studio in the late 1930s and early 40s. The prop was quietly removed from display and locked away. But when it surfaced at a 1950s studio event, technical difficulties and a minor fire broke out during the presentation. No one wanted to handle the crown after that, and eventually it was lost, misplaced, sold, or maybe even intentionally hidden. Today, the legend persists among Disney historians, a cautionary tale that not all fairy tale treasures bring a happily ever after. The car from Rebel Without a Cause. When James Dean's Little Bastard is mentioned, most think of his fatal Porsche. But the curse seemed to extend to the studio prop cars, used on the set of Rebel Without a Cause. leaving a mark of misfortune that cast a shadow over the film's legacy. The Ford Mercury coupe that Dean's character drives in the film was just a prop. Yet, it quickly developed a reputation for trouble. Crewmen joked that the rebel car didn't want to cooperate. It stalled repeatedly, suffered inexplicable flat tires, and even rolled off its mark during takes without explanation. The mood turned darker after a stunt driver was injured when the Mercury's brakes failed during a night shoot. Even after repairs, technicians reported that the engine made unsettling noises, and several mechanics who worked on it experienced a run of personal bad luck. 2 were hospitalized for unrelated illnesses, and another was injured in a workshop fire weeks after the shoot. Several extras refused to ride in the car for subsequent scenes, convinced it was jinxed. Rumors swirled that Dean himself joked about the car's bad vibes. And after the tragic fates of not just Dean, but co-stars Sal Mineo and Natalie Wood, studio staff began linking the prop to the wider "rebel without a cause" curse. After production, Mercury disappeared from the Warner Brothers lot, resurfacing years later in a collector's garage, where its owner reported a series of near misses and accidents. To this day, die-hard fans and conspiracy theorists insist the Rebel car is more than just a hunk of metal. It's a relic of Hollywood's haunted past, a prop with a body count, and a warning that some legends refuse to stay parked. The Statueette from The Ten Commandments. Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments was one of Hollywood's grandest spectacles, but behind the pageantry lurked a collection of props rumored to carry a curse, none more infamous than the golden statuettes and idols crafted for the film's epic sequences. Chief among them was the prop of golden calf, central to the infamous scene of idol worship. Despite being made of painted plaster and gold leaf, the calf seemed to generate an outsized sense of dread. Early in production, workers assigned to transport the statue were plagued by injuries. One broke his wrist, another contracted a bizarre rash, and a third suffered a series of falls, all while moving the idol. During filming, a spotlight crashed down only inches from a group of extras bowing before the golden calf. Several cast members developed unexplained fevers, and technical glitches constantly interrupted scenes featuring the prop. DeMille, himself superstitious, reportedly demanded a priest visit the set to remove any ancient evils before filming resumed. After the shoot, the statuette's legend grew. Several minor props, including imitation tablets and ceremonial relics, were lost or destroyed in studio fires. The golden calf was moved to the Paramount Lot's prop warehouse, where a string of warehouse workers reported electrical failures, minor accidents, and even the sudden death of a night watchman from a heart attack. When the studio finally auctioned off the prop in the 1970s, the new owner was beset by business failures and burglary. Even as decades have passed, the story of the Ten Commandments, cursed statuette endures among prop collectors, a warning that some cinematic treasures might be best left on holy ground. The Egyptian Ankh. Few props have traversed as many troubled productions as the Egyptian Ankh, first fashioned for Claudette Colbert's Cleopatra in 1934. Hollywood's obsession with ancient Egypt was at its fever pitch, and Paramount's prop department spared no effort to create a realistic, gold-plated Ankh for Colbert to hold during pivotal scenes. It was a minor prop on screen, but soon gained an outsized reputation for being jinxed. The first omen arrived when the set carpenter, who fabricated the prop, suffered a fall, breaking his leg, on the day it was delivered. During filming, Colbert reportedly grew unnerved by the Ankh, insisting it was always cold to the touch, even under the hot lights, and that she experienced strange dreams after scenes where she wore it. A spate of minor disasters followed. The Ankh slipped from Colbert's hands during a rehearsal, shattering an expensive lamp. Later, a wardrobe attendant handling the prop suffered a serious burn when her curling iron inexplicably sparked. By the film's end, whispers about the Ankh's curse were so persistent that Paramount locked it away in storage. But the legend didn't end there. The same Ankh was pulled from the vault decades later for Elizabeth Taylor's lavish Cleopatra, 1963. Despite the new production's modern trappings, the old superstitions returned. Accidents multiplied on set, including fires, illnesses, and a run of delays that nearly sank the film and cost Fox millions. Crew members blamed the Ankh, swearing it brought nothing but chaos each time it surfaced. It was quietly shelved after filming, and, according to some, never used again. For collectors and historians, the Egyptian Ankh remains a notorious piece of Hollywood lore, a simple prop with a trail of misfortune longer than Cleopatra's reign. The piano from Casablanca. At the heart of Casablanca's smoky intrigue was Rick's Café Américain and its battered upright piano, the unlikely stage for Dooley Wilson's iconic performance of As Time Goes By. To moviegoers, it was a symbol of romance and heartbreak. But among cast and crew, the piano soon took on an altogether darker reputation. The prop department struggled from the start. Movers injured their backs while hauling it onto the soundstage, and it had to be hastily reinforced after a pedal snapped during rehearsal. Shortly after filming began, a lighting rig fell and smashed part of the piano's frame, narrowly missing Wilson and Ingrid Bergman. Repairs were hurried, but technicians swore the piano never sounded right after that. Legend grew as more incidents followed. The set was hit by a minor flood when a pipe burst, with the water stopping just short of the piano, leaving other instruments ruined. Over the course of production, actors and extras suffered a string of minor ailments and accidents whenever they interacted with the prop, from sprained ankles to sudden fevers. Some in the studio believed the piano was jinxed, especially as strange malfunctions and delays seemed to coincide with its use. After filming, the piano was moved around Warner Brothers for exhibitions, with rumors that, wherever it went, technical snafus or ill luck followed. It was briefly lost in storage, then rediscovered for a studio auction, where the auctioneer suffered a sudden health scare on stage. Today, collectors treasure the Casablanca piano for its cinematic history, but old-timers still recall it as a piece of movie magic that, like the city itself, carried secrets and shadows in its battered wood. The Blackbird. While the original Blackbird prop was already covered, studio lore claims that a second, lesser-known replica of the Maltese Falcon was made for backup shots. This stand-in statuette, less ornate and never intended for close-ups, became infamous for its own streak of bad luck. Shortly after its arrival on set, a teamster transporting the prop crashed his cart, breaking his arm. Studio electricians experienced repeated blown fuses in the same storage area where the bird was kept, and a fire broke out in the nearby prop warehouse, causing tens of thousands in damages, though the Blackbird survived, untouched and eerily pristine amid the ashes. The second prop's misfortunes didn't end with production. Loaned out for a studio gala, it was dropped by a guest, shattering the base and requiring emergency repair. A studio accountant in charge of its insurance paperwork suffered a nervous breakdown within weeks, and more than one tour guide claimed the prop was responsible for flickering lights and cold spots in the backlot display room. Some say that, even when displayed under glass, the backup bird cast unsettling reflections, prompting more than one staff member to refuse to close up alone. When the backup Blackbird was finally auctioned off in the 1990s, the winning bidder, an avid film memorabilia collector, endured a string of business setbacks and legal battles that led him to sell the statue within the year. Today, both the main and the backup Maltese Falcons are regarded as iconic pieces of Hollywood's past. But among those who handled them, the legend lingers. Sometimes a prop is more than a prop. It's a piece of bad luck waiting for its next chapter. Some legends say cursed objects are just props, but Hollywood's shadows suggest otherwise. The stories behind these iconic relics prove that even the brightest lights can cast the darkest spells, leaving a legacy of superstition, tragedy, and whispered warnings. Whether you believe in curses or not, one thing's certain: the mysteries behind these Golden Age props continue to haunt collectors, fans, and filmmakers alike. In Hollywood, every legend has a price, and some objects refuse to let go, even decades after the final cut.